Yo, I'm Anthony Frida. Welcome to BaDumBizz. All right, here's an impromptu episode. Yeah, one of my students canceled, so I have an hour. So I figured, you know what? Let's do an episode. Why not? All right. I wanted to talk about that movie Whiplash. I've mentioned movies, with featuring drummers before. Like the last one I mentioned was That Thing You Do. One of my favorite movies. I think I talked a lot about it back on that episode, but I didn't describe the whole movie, but I gave especially parts I really liked. But I wanted to talk about that movie Whiplash a little bit, my thoughts on it. And it's fun, it's funny. It's like everybody who's seen the movie will ask my opinion. Well, what did you think about it? And my opinion about it is unpopular to people who liked it. Or how about this? Who enjoyed every part of it? I guess that's kind of what I mean by that. It's funny is I enjoyed the movie watching it as a movie. It had really good. I mean, it had really good acting. Actually, the guy, I forget the guy's name who played it. Actually, I mean, I have my Google Chrome Internet Explorer here, so I could just look that up. But I actually thought that guy. I thought that his acting was pretty convincing, specifically the dramatic parts of the character. I mean, he played a very tortured, call it like tortured artist, but specifically, this is what I liked about the movie. But I feel like it wasn't translated properly. But I saw it and I picked up on it as a side man, right? We'll call it. That's the nickname for somebody who's the bass player or the guitar player or the drummer of a, ensemble, group, whatever it might be for an artist. And you're not the feature. That's the nickname for it. So he, this kid in college, he's practicing being this. I mean, he's working towards being a professional sideman. And I know that sounds like it's less than. It's not. It's being a professional drummer in a sense, getting really good gigs, but as a drummer supporting, certain musical acts, right? And he was specifically playing in like a big band swing sense and more of the jazz nature of things. All right. So I think that as far as the pressure that one can put on themselves, I've done it. You put so much pressure on yourself. It's almost like that. This is the, that professional gig, like that profession, is like, it's either you get it or you give up on everything. And it's like crazy, but that becomes the translation, to somebody like that. I mean, so that part I was convinced about. I liked it. I certainly loved. Oh man, I actually really loved, and that's why that's why I said I liked the movie. But I have issues with it. That's why I said it would be. I have the unpopular opinions though about why I didn't like certain parts of it. One of the parts I loved this part was when he's at like the dinner table, and I think his aunt and his uncle and his cousin or whatever are over for dinner. And they're making a big deal about his cousin. He's also a kid. And he's college football or something like that. And he's on the team and stuff, but he's not like killing it. He's not like going towards. He's not very close to, from what I remember, it's not like he's very close to going pro at all. And even, yeah. So, but he's on the team, and maybe it was a certain school, I think, too, that made it a bigger deal, right? And the main character I think what happened was, and the guy's name is Miles Teller, the actor. Yeah. Good acting. But I think something in the conversation, the aunt and the uncle referenced his, pursuing music. And what happens is family members who don't understand music at all, they just hear it. And let me repeat that. It's like they just take it in as it's coming in their ears, and there's not much thought about what it takes to perform, even like record the music that they're hearing. There's no thoughts behind that, right? So they have very little knowledge. However, these particular people, I'm not speaking about a general everybody sense. These are very particular people, and I bet you musicians, if you're listening to this, these people who feel like they can talk about music with their lack of knowledge, and even criticize. And look, I'm not going to be a fascist. You could talk whatever you could say whatever you want. Honestly. And I invite you, if you really think something, say it about music. If you think something about something you know nothing about, yay, man, feel free, say it. However, you expect that you're going to get owned, like in conversation, about your lack of knowledge and what you're saying. Anyway, so they say something, and it pisses him off. Specifically, the idea was, man, I just got the gig, or I got this position in this well-known big band at this, conservatory, whatever. And like nobody's saying anything. It's all like, oh, very nice, yeah. But the whole family's making a big deal about, my cousin's football position or what team he's on in the school that the college he goes to. And I love, he ripped them apart. That I liked that part. Those are real feelings. People who don't know anything about music criticizing or questioning, especially, I've had a relative in the family, extended family, who hadn't seen this person for years. It actually makes me laugh. Because when it happened, I was like, you motherfucker. And you would see it like on a television show, the way this guy delivered it. He's like, hey, Anthony, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Yeah. So what are you doing for work? Are you still doing music, or are you doing do you have like a real job? Oh, dude, it's so funny. Because he doesn't know how, older guy, doesn't know how kind of shitty that was to say. I guess you always come from a mind of when you're entering the job force, and it's like, oh, this guy's going to do music, good luck. And, whatever. Projection. All right. Still funny as fuck, though. Still makes me laugh. So that's definitely a real experience. I'm sure many musicians have had that, not just drummers. All right, so back to Whiplash. Here's a few things I didn't like, and I know it's a major motion picture, so they needed to over dramatize it, if that's the word. The professor, the conductor of that big band, was a massive prick. If throwing chairs at a student on their first day, I mean, look, coming from a teacher, I do this for a living. You know, again, for a movie, gasp, effective. In fucking real life, you committed an act of violence, and the intent was fear. It's all fear-based learning. Problem is, and this is where I think this is a universal criticism for how people communicate to each other. And you can copy and paste this actually in many situations. What are you trying to communicate? And do you care more about, if you're criticizing somebody or you want to correct somebody, do you care more about them making the correction, making a change, right? Or do you care more about just being right and showing that you're right? And in that case, having a chair thrown at me, I know that I would definitely say something like to somebody, be like, this professor just threw a chair at me. This is not cool. And like, and you got to consider, man, I always think about this. What's his parents, like, what are they paying to be in a conservatory, like, as far as tuition? Oh, motherfucker, you're getting paid to teach me something, meaning I don't have the information, right? I have the inexperience, and you, in your bald old ass, has all of the experience, I guess, and you're there to facilitate the learning. But that doesn't seem to be what was happening. And correct me. I mean, look, maybe I'm talking maybe I'm talking wrong information, but if I'm correct, this is conservatory. It's not just a gig. It had something to do with school, right? This is a thing, people. There are college professors that fucking act like that, but not violently, not throwing chairs and shit, but will make an example out of a student in their ensemble. And I'm gonna say it. I'm a teacher for a profession, and I care about always being effective, especially when it comes to the student having to learn something. They have to walk away having shown some growth in learning, whatever the topic is, whatever the instrument. In my case, it's usually drums. I mean, shaming somebody is not how you get people to learn. Maybe a few who are hard enough, have thick skin enough to get through those barriers. Fuck all that. You're putting up the barriers, man. Why? And that's why I didn't like the movie, because this kid is going to become a professional musician, professional drummer, and as a sideman, be famous or something like that? And what is that supposed to reflect this? Oh, he was in my ensemble and I gave, you know what I mean? It didn't really make sense to me. It didn't seem to be based in reality. But again, it's a movie, so they got to sell tickets. You know what I mean? They got to sell movie tickets. You got to over dramatize it, whichever word. I get it. All right, here's my other gripe with the movie. Now, I gotta say something. So, and I have my sticks. So I'll give some playing demonstrations here. But in the movie, you see him practicing a lot. They're like these montages, and in those montages, you see him sweating profusely and really physically, like straining, dripping sweat. You see, at one point, he looks down at his sticks. They're covered in blood, and all his fingers are all, what is it called? Blistered and skin torn and all that. Blood, right? And I remember specifically, I'm pretty sure the music that I think he was working on like a bebop speed type of swing pattern or whatever, and it would sound like this. Something like that. I'll try it one more time. Something like that. That's fast. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. this is the music of, this is bebop. This is the music of Charlie Parker. That's where that, you know, you can track that all the way back to those times in the 40s, I think. My point of bringing this up is, and I just played that, right? And I could have went on with that for a few minutes. I'm not sweating. There's no blood in my hands. And maybe he was doing it for hours, right? But the problem with that is they're showing tension and grip and force, muscle, like just veins, sweat, and blood. That's not how you play bebop. Every jazz player knows that. You can't play jazz like you're playing punk rock, especially bebop. Tension doesn't do shit, right? It actually takes away. It makes it sound like shit, right? It's all about technique. That's why these players were able to, that's why it was so amazing, that music. The performance of it is just like, how did they play so fast? But, you know, sax solos, I mean, just straight 16 notes. So smooth. Amazing melodies in their when they're taking solos. I mean, and then the drummer and the bass player, I mean, just constant walking bass line, very fast. They have to sit in the same rhythm together. But it's jazz. So, you know, and just to give you a little thing, in jazz, as a drummer, you got to hold something like this. But you also have to kind of improvise some other hits in there to make the music sound. I've always been trying to find this word. It's like if I was going, let's see, down, 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 down. That's the beat. Down, 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 down. Like all that kind of da-da. It's not the most important stuff, but it's making the most important, which is the down, down, down. It's making it sound a little cooler. You're kind of playing with it, I guess. It would be that you know what? I've heard this before. Somebody's relating basketball to jazz, and I think that's it. When you're dribbling and you're doing all those, you know, tricks and stuff like that, in a way, there's a rhythm to it. And the whole goal is to get around somebody so you can take a shot. And that's how I think of this, right? So anyway, this is what that would sound like with, you know, you just use your left hand on the snare drum. Hold up. When they're playing fast, I mean, it sounds something like this. It's really hard. I barely can do it. It takes a lot of practice. However, not sweating, not bleeding. So it's completely the opposite. It's more controlled. It's more relaxed, right? And this is kind of what I mean, right? When your car is going 100 miles an hour, you know, if you tried to go from 0 to 100 in a very short time, when you get to 100, in terms of, I guess, the gears, whatever, your car's going to be working hard, right? But if it's a gradual thing, you're on the highway. Sometimes, man, you get like in the 90s, you're just cruising. What I mean by cruising is it doesn't feel dangerous, that the turns aren't too sharp. It doesn't feel fast, right? But you're going near 100 miles an hour, and the car doesn't seem to be working its hardest. That's what the drummer and even the bass player, any musician at those speeds, that's kind of how they have to perform, like a car like that. Right? Like sure, call it a sports car, fine. All right. And then, so specifically with drummers, you're holding the pattern for the group. Da 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 da. But also, your other limbs, specifically because I was just using the main thing is with your right hand on the cymbal and your left foot on these, what are called hi-hat cymbals. All right, so the left hand and your foot, the right foot, have to like improvise a little bit, right? If I slow it down, sound like this. I improvised all that shit between the left hand on the snare and the right foot on the bass drum. And, you know, you just have to practice. But I improvised it like I was improvising how to say something. It's a language. And these guys were doing it at Mach 5 speeds. Again, no blood, no sweat. Well, maybe sweat later on. But what I mean by sweat, I'm talking about you're drenched. Because you're overplaying, you're overexerting yourself, and that's not the technique. It's definitely not the technique to playing that type of stuff. I know this is like a nerd, well, actually, you know, but I don't give a fuck because I'm a drummer, and sometimes, you know, when you find, remember going back to those folks who don't know shit about your instrument, or whatever, or what it takes to be a musician, you want them to get the information, but you don't necessarily want to fucking teach them. You kind of want to be understood a little bit, and that movie kind of, I was like, oh, you're lying to people, you know. Whatever. Who gives a shit? Fun movie to watch. I mean, without a doubt, fun movie to watch. I don't even remember how the movie ends. And there was like a relationship, you know, you had a girlfriend or whatever. I remember, that was a whole part of it too. I don't even really remember that part. But I do remember him spiraling out into like just depression, and that's real. That I like that they added that in the movie, and they included that in the movie. That's real. It's hard. It's tough, man. It's a tough go. So that's that. I would recommend watching it. You know, fuck my opinion too. That's the other thing. Watch it for yourself. You know. Now there are other. I'm gonna rewatch it. I've seen it a long time ago, actually, to the point where I barely remember it. Mo Better Blues, I think, and if I'm correct, Wesley Snipes was in it. Let me see. Yep, Mo Better Blues came out in 1990, and Denzel and Spike Lee was in it. Wesley Snipes. Yeah. And so this is about, let's see. Yeah, a jazz trumpeter makes questionable decisions in his professional and romantic life. Yeah. I specifically remember, too, the playing being pretty cool. You know? I don't know if Wesley Snipes played the sax, and Denzel, if I'm correct, played the trumpet lead role. And they definitely had the look of a jazz player, which was kind of cool. And I remember, I'm pretty sure the drummer, they made it look accurate. And I always appreciate that. That's why I loved That Thing You Do. Because you know what? That guy, I'm pretty sure that guy was playing a little bit, and you actually heard him play. I could be wrong. They might have taught him. There was a. I can try to see if I can recreate it. I have a new setup here, new mixer, so I'm gonna fuck with it a little bit. But he was in a recording studio, and his band didn't show up because they basically broke up. And oh man, so cool, remembering this. So he was in there alone, and the producer or the whatever engineer was like, "Hey, you wanna?" He was just playing something. You know, and he was like, "Hey, you want to record that, whatever?" He played like a little improvised thing, and it sounded cool. So anyway, I'm gonna try to recreate that. It sounded kind of cool. And anyway, the point is, he looked like he played it. All right, here, something like this. All right, that's the... Yeah, that was what he played. Something like that. And it's pretty convincing. The drumming throughout that entire movie is fantastic just to listen to. Whoever recorded the drums is stellar performance, in my opinion. Made me want to pick up the drums, and that's what was so cool about that movie, because I saw, hey, he's hitting, and I hear a sound. Is he really playing? Whether or not he really was, they made it seem accurate, and he looked cool playing. That's hard to do, man. I'm going to say it straight up. And something I kind of struggle with a little bit is looking cool when you play. Like looking, and it's like, what am I, 16 in high school? But looking enjoyable to watch. How about that? When you play. I think I struggle with that a little bit, to be honest. Which is whatever. What the fuck does it matter? And that's actually where I really stand, which is I'm not going to sit there and work in front of a mirror and work on how I fucking look while I play. Because usually it doesn't matter. I'm not there for that on whatever gig. And I just work on what's needed for the gig and beyond the gig, like for my playing in general. I just work on my sound, basically. However, I look like sometimes I'm dead in the eyes, like I'm somewhere else. It's kind of funny, actually. Yeah, so that was this episode of BaDumBizz. Yeah, I mean, it's been really cool. A little bit of growth of the listenership, man, and I appreciate every single one of you who listen. I really do. Yeah, and I'm going to just keep doing them. I might miss a week here and there, so I apologize. I think I missed this last week. So, I'm also working on getting more guests in studio. I cannot wait for that. Might have one coming up. There's plenty of people I know who I'm reaching out to, who would be great, who you would love to listen to speak and also possibly perform. I'm very excited. If you want to reach out, BaDumBizz@gmail.com. Any questions, criticism, I don't give a fuck. You want to go, I hate your show, and you're boring to listen to. Go ahead, I don't care. Send it my way. If you want to say nice things, please send it my way. That'd be great. And also too, like things, hey, we like the guests. Hey, we like your solo episodes. Could we get more of that? Whatever. Any sort of feedback is cool. Because you know what? It does feel like I'm throwing darts in the dark sometimes with these episodes. The only thing I have is the numbers of how many listeners that have listened to it, and I've said, I live in New Jersey, so most people are in New Jersey area, tri-state area, New York City, But I see people from Germany, I see people from France listening, South America. I can pull it up right here, and I appreciate every one of you. I want to just shout you out because it's so cool to think about that too. It's so cool to me to think that somebody across the world is listening to this show, and that's why I said I extremely appreciate the listenership in all regards. Let's see, listener locations. Yeah, we got zero. Nobody in South America. No, wait, no. Is that true? Oh, okay. Yeah, a few South America. 2 in Asia. Oh, wow. In the Australia area. Yeah. Wow. So it's cool. So I appreciate, anyway, what the fuck am I talking about here? I appreciate everybody. Spain, Ireland, Australia, yep, Canada, Russia, Ecuador, United Kingdom, France, Germany, Mexico, Belarus, Jersey. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. BaDumBizz to you, everybody. Take care.